Hello everyone, welcome to episode 121 of the Trading Without Borders podcast with Omobi, your host. Before we proceed, please allow me to do a quick introduction of the podcast for the benefit of our new listeners and audience. The Trading Without Borders podcast is a platform dedicated to sharing insights and encouraging discussions on the opportunities presented by the AfCFTA. The podcast simplifies complex trade and economic integration topics in Africa and seeks to foster dialogue on key issues related to cross-border trade, market expansion by raising awareness on trade policies in Africa, bridging knowledge gaps, supporting growth and shaping trade discourse. Thank you. So today's episode, we will wrap up our discussions on the AfCFTA Women and Youth in Trade Protocol. We started discussions about the protocol and we have examined different provisions in the protocol. So today we will wrap up the discussions, and I am also likely to bring a guest in to come and speak to this protocol to see if it addresses the challenges that women and youth in cross-border trade in Africa face. So let's move right into today's discussion. So we will be considering institutional arrangements in the protocol today. This is for the benefits of those that always ask us, what are the arrangements made to implement, to evaluate and to monitor how the provisions of the protocol will be achieved. So that is why we just want to have a quick look at that. So we'll start with the first one, Article 20, which makes provision for a committee on women and youth in trade to be established. So under this, the Council of Ministers to establish a committee on women and youth in trade to carry out functions that the Council of Ministers shall assign to the committee in order to facilitate the implementation of the protocol and to further the objectives of the protocol. The committee may also set up subsidiary bodies to discharge its function with the approval of the Council, and the committee shall also maintain close relationships with other AfCFTA committees such as intellectual property rights, competition policy, digital trade, or other relevant bodies to achieve the objectives of the protocol. Other relevant bodies that are set up to achieve the objectives of the protocol. So let's look at the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation provisions in it. The protocol. So the committee will be responsible for monitoring and evaluating the protocol and reports to Committee of Signatory officials. Then the AfCFTA Secretariat will also assist and support this committee in the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of this protocol. So in the discharge of their duties, they will also be working with the AfCFTA Secretariats to carry out their functions. The Secretariat shall also, in consultation with state parties, prepare annual factual reports to facilitate the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the protocol. Moving on to Article 22, that deals with transparency and notification. So I'll just speak to some of the provisions, not all of it. State parties are expected to notify the secretariats, except in cases of emergency. That's in a medium that is accessible and at the latest time of entry into force. All relevant measures of general applications that may or will affect the operation of this AfCFTA Women and Youth in Trade Protocol. Each state parties are also to designate the National Women and Youth in Trade focal points and submit the details to the AfCFTA Secretariat. And the state parties are to notify the Secretariat of any international, regional, and bilateral agreements pertaining to or that affect women and youth in trade that they have signed with other state parties and third parties that they are meant to inform the Secretariat promptly after the entry into force of this protocol. And the Secretariat shall be responsible for all notifications to and from the Committee on Women and Youth in Trade and State Parties. So the protocol also makes provision for technical assistance and capacity building, and the Secretariat will work with state parties, regional economic communities, and other relevant stakeholders to coordinate and provide technical assistance and capacity building to facilitate the implementation of this protocol. So this is where we are going to wrap up our discussions on the AfCFTA Women and Youth in Trade Protocol. And as usual, the podcast is for educational purposes only. If you need information on entry into African markets or expanding your operations into different African markets, please reach out to me. I am Omobola Adekola on LinkedIn. And until next week, I say to you, bye-bye.